And I was like, okay, sure. And I went and I produced this interview. And I remember the entire time I was like, done. I'll never do this again. Like, this will be the last thing I do for ABC. And it was. And there was nothing against Lizzo, nothing about ABC. I just, there was nothing in that entire process that resonated. I'm being pulled away from a vacation, a romantic vacation, being pulled away. Last minute being told that on the way there, they said, oh, you need to go get a test, rapid test. It was during that whole time. And it was like frantic and frustrating and all this stuff. And I just remember being like, this is not my life. I have always been slightly psychic, but the level of claircognizance now is like way next level to what it began. And I'm turning 38 this year, and the astrologer and my healer, Gaia in New Zealand, both told me the first day she met me, she said, are you an energy healer? And I said, yeah, this was 3 years ago. She said, when you turn 38, you'll start doing miracles and you won't do what you do now, but people will come all over the world for a blessing. It was really interesting because she said, but you have to embrace the name you had in a past life in Persia, and your name in that life was Firas. And that's my birth name in this life, and no one could have known that.
What would make someone walk away from a dream career most people spend their entire life chasing? My guest today is Frank Elaridi, a 4-time Emmy Award-winning journalist who spent over a decade producing for Good Morning America, covering everything from presidents and popes to the biggest moments in global news. And then one day, in the middle of a routine assignment, he realized something. It would be the last thing he ever did there. Frank didn't leave because he failed. He left because something deeper was calling. Today, his work as an energy healer, guiding people through profound emotional and physical shifts, and his clients include everyone from everyday people to some of the most powerful individuals in the world. But the real reason I wanted to have this conversation is a single idea Frank teaches that challenges everything we think we know about ourselves. You are not the body. You are not the mind. And once you truly understand that, everything changes. And this is a fascinating conversation about intuition, identity, forgiveness, and the question that sits at the center of it all: who is it that is seeking? Enjoy. Well. Today we have another amazing, and I mean super amazing guest. We've got Frank Elaridi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Catherine. I'm excited to talk to you. Already from just the minute that we spoke beforehand, I was like, oh, she gets it.
I know, and I'm curious. I'm going to wait till the end. I'm really curious to hear from everyone. You know, looking at you, looking in your eyes, what comes to mind? Who does Frank remind you of? Because I've got someone in mind anyway, but we'll talk about that at the end.
I would love to hear what people say now in the beginning. It'll be interesting.
Yes.
You know what's really interesting, Catherine? Can I tell you something?
Yes.
The person that you said, which we won't reveal yet, you told me before the call, is somebody that I've been really drawn to, and I've never said it publicly, but I have talked about publicly the place where they say he abides, that I've been for like a year now pulled to go there. But also the other interesting thing is I was in Spain about a year ago, and it comes to mind because I brought it up to a client yesterday. And I was in that time for like 3 months meditating on Hanuman, the monkey god, they say. I mean, the monkey, the one that appears like a monkey in Hinduism. And I mean, I had like such devotion for him. I would start crying when I thought about him. It was like that level. And he would say like, what do you want? And I'd say, all I want is if I ever see you in person to not be scared. That's all I want. I'm not asking for money or fame or this. All I want is if I see you, I don't want to be afraid in that moment. And I would just start crying when I thought about him. And then I go to Spain. I was in Mallorca and I'm meditating with a German friend, and we had done a ceremony. And I'm not thinking that my friend from Germany would ever know who Hanuman was, right? So I never even brought it up. And the next day, he said, every time I looked at you in ceremony, I just saw Hanuman. So it's really interesting that when I connect with certain beings, like there's something there. Like the person you saw is somebody that I'm very drawn to. The person my friend saw during meditation is somebody I'm very drawn to.
So there's a real embodiment
Yeah.
that's taking place. That's amazing. I've got goosebumps again. So it's the second
And
time. So Frank, I'm really curious. How did you go from being a four times Emmy Award or Emmy winning journalist turned into an energy healing? I can't wait to hear the
Yeah.
transition.
Look, if people, I'll just take you on a little journey. If people are watching, they'll see. But yeah, this was my past life, you know? Um,
Yeah.
and it's so interesting to see it there because I forget about that was ever even something I had experienced. But I really was for 12 years on the front line of every massive story in the world because I didn't work for a local news station. I worked for Good Morning America. And so I was all over the world. We did interviews with the Pope, with queens and kings and celebrities and presidents and massive, massive stories, whether it was a hurricane or a wildfire or a mass shooting or Dancing with the Stars or the Oscars, whatever it was, I was there. And now when I look back, it's like it just feels like a whirlwind that never even occurred. And so it's interesting because it's always everybody's very first question when I do an interview, whether I'm on TV, whether it's a podcast, a newspaper, it's always the first question of like, you went from this to this. And I get it because as a former journalist too and podcast host, I get that that would be the first question. It's like it's so out of left field. One of those things alone, being an energy healer or being a four-time Emmy-winning journalist, are both kind of like newsworthy on their own. But to go from one to the other, I think is fascinating for people. And I get that. And I never know how to answer it because I feel that, well, first of all, if you look at my astrology chart, the Vedic chart, um, they say, like my astrologer, when he first met me, said, because he wanted to make sure he had the right time, because I was born at exactly 6 o'clock, which is not common. So he's like, I just want to make sure you were actually born at 6 p.m. Did these three things occur in your life? And one of them was, did you in your early 30s go from media to healing, whether that's medical field or whatever? And I said, yeah, that's exactly what happened. So the way, from my vantage point, everything, just like something that consciousness took you, as Catherine, from a 6-year-old to an adult woman without your conscious participation. It's also the same thing that led you to invite me to your podcast. It's also the same thing that brought me here. It's all unfolding and it's just happening spontaneously. So spontaneously, that same thing that made my body from a kid to an adult without my active participation in that is the same thing that took me from journalist to healer. It was the next unfolding. And it was something that I just didn't resist. Well, I did resist actually for a couple years.
And when you're saying you're resisting it, were you resisting? Because I mean, I know there would be people that would spend their entire careers chasing what you had, right?
Yeah.
And 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 be successful, and but to actually give that up. For me, it's like to be so successful, but you still are successful. And as you're speaking about it, I can almost see the connection between, because it's
Mm.
you're a storyteller as well. Like in healing, there's a lot of narratives and stories, and just the energy. And because you did so many things, it kind of, you were talking about kings and queens. Look at you behind you, your chairs, and
Right.
your Pope, and so there's so many links to what you were saying.
Yeah.
What was the turning point for you? Like, what was that shift for you where it's like, I'm ready to give this up?
Yeah, it was actually an interview with somebody, Lizzo, a massive singer named Lizzo, right? And I was not the interviewer for that. I was the producer. So I happened to be on vacation and in Austin, Texas, and ABC called me and said, "Hey, we know you're on vacation, but we have the reporter already doing this interview, but we need a last minute emergency, someone to produce this. Can you do it?" And I was like, "Okay, sure." And I went and I produced this interview. And I remember the entire time I was like, I'm done. I'll never do this again. Like this will be the last thing I do. And for ABC. And it was. And there was nothing against Lizzo, nothing about ABC. I just, there was nothing in that entire process that resonated. I'm being pulled away from a vacation, a romantic vacation, being pulled away. I'm, last minute being told that on the way there, they said, oh, you need to go get a test, rapid test. It was during that whole time. And it was like frantic and frustrating and all this stuff. And I just remember being like, this is not my life. And I had, because at that time I had already been working with clients. I already had a massive conference called the Modern Nirvana Conference where we would bring on speakers that were really big in the industry. Sadhguru, Sri Ravi Shankar, Deepak, like a lot of people. And the interesting thing is that what you actually said before, which was like, was it there was resistance and there was fear a little bit and all and that, but I'm still successful. And I do feel like I'm more successful now. Like
Mm.
I don't look at my friends who are still in that field and go, oh, I miss that. I look at it and I go, I actually feel bad for them. And I actually go, wow, I'm so grateful that that's not my life anymore, even though it was incredible at the time. But I am a storyteller, and it's because of ABC that I would do these videos, for example, about third eye, where we would blindfold people and they can still see everything. I learned how to do it. Even blind people, we would tape their eyes shut on top of them being blind, blindfold them on top of the eyes being shut, and they can still see everything, doing the training that we taught them on activating the midbrain. But those videos had existed on YouTube before, but they had like 10 views, 20 views. And then I did it and it got 10 million views. And then it got 5 million. Another one got four, three. So they were getting all these views because I knew how to tell a story. And because, with my clients now or podcast interviews, because I did interviews with people who had just lost their home in a wildfire or had just, these tragic situations. I know even with clients now how to be very delicate and to wear kid gloves when I speak to them and to meet them where they're at. And I have women who work with me primarily. I think I would say just in general, women are more drawn to healing. So you go to a yoga class and it's mostly women, right? Same with my clients. I'd say it's about 70% women and 30% men. And those women always say, like, I feel so safe with you. I always usually only work with women, but I feel so comfortable with you. And it takes that kind of delicate hand holding when I'm telling a woman your uterus is imbalanced, or you have an imbalance in your mammary glands that produce milk or your sacral chakra, and we're getting to very intimate places. And I'm saying it's because you were abandoned when you were 15 or because you had this divorce when you were 30. And I'm getting really specific without them telling me anything. And it's I think because of that background that I had as a journalist. So I absolutely can see, like you, how it all unfolds perfectly by consciousness when we just step back and get out of the way.
That's amazing. So, because healing is such a big word, it's what
Yeah.
specifically that, because obviously what you were just talking about is one part of what you do. And can
Yeah.
I just ask you, when you were picking this up, was this intuitively information that was coming through for you? Yeah.
Yeah, it's claircognizance. So I was in the very beginning trained, and that's why when I say resistance is because I would go to these healers around the world for my own healing, and all of them, one by one, would be like, "You're a healer. You're a healer. You're a very powerful healer. You're a very powerful healer." I remember a curandera in Mexico pointed to my heart when I went to her, and she was like, "Tu corazón," and then she just went boom, like she did like this blast off symbol, and she's like, "Your heart is exploding. It's just so open." And she's like, "You're," and she actually has magnets like these, and she was trying to show me how to use them and how to clear energy. And I remember being so stubborn and being like, "No, no, 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 I'm a journalist." And her son was translating, and I was like, "Tell her I'm a journalist, not a healer," you know? And she was just laughing. She's like, "You're a healer." And it was literally a couple years after that. But I say that to say I have always been slightly psychic, but the level of claircognizance now is way next level to what it began. And I'm turning 38 this year, and the astrologer and my healer Gaia in New Zealand both told me the first day she met me, she said, "Are you an energy healer?" And I said, "Yeah." This was 3 years ago. She said, "When you turn 38, you'll start doing miracles, and you won't do what you do now, but people will come all over the world for a blessing."
Oh,
And it was really interesting because she said, "But you have to embrace the name you had in a past life in Persia, and your name in that life was Firas. And that's my birth name in this life. And no one could have known that. I mean, it's not anywhere publicly."
wow. So
Yeah.
obviously, because when you were just because when you were talking about YouTube, when you actually launched some of these videos that were already in existing, right? It's obviously
Yeah.
this is you're doing you're on your track, you're on path, you're doing exactly what you are meant to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Because I was doing those YouTube videos, but sort of in secret. It was kind of crazy that they had millions of views. because I didn't talk about them at work. I didn't talk about them with my friends. It was kind of like something I was documenting on the side when I had time. And then it was like 10 years later that I started going to a healing practice and speaking more openly. Like I would go on podcasts and they say, give us a breathwork routine or tell, and I would do it. And now I'm like, why? Who is it that wants to be liberated? Who is the one seeking? Like, and now it was things that I was like, I can't say this before because I'd be like, they're going to think I'm weird. I won't have, like, my following won't understand. And now I'm realizing people actually appreciate and resonate. I had an episode that actually came out today with Sahara Rose, or I saw it today, came out a few days ago. And I'm looking at the comments and people really like it. But even with her, I would challenge her where she'd be like, she would talk about certain things and I would say, but that's not you. And you're prior to that and whatever else. And she'd say, and she made a good point. She said, but Frank, your path is moksha. It's liberation. Like it's in your birth chart. It's written all over you, but that's not everybody's path in this life is to realize. So you kind of have to meet people where they're at. So she kind of helped me soften my approach, but I did realize that people are resonating and it's okay to call somebody out or a host and it's not confrontational. They actually appreciate that you did it.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're also congruent with what I mean, I can feel it. You're really congruent with what you're speaking and it's almost like coming through you, for you, and and for those that resonate with it will be drawn to you. When you were talking about creating miracles, I'm trying to think of his name. I think it's Baba. He used to create gold from his hands.
Oh, wow. Oh, are you talking about Sai Baba?
Sai Baba, that's it, Sai
Sai
Baba.
Baba, yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
My mom loved him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you said that, I had that picture of you creating miracles and making, creating things, manifesting things out of your hands.
Yeah, I mean, and I've seen all this. I've seen a woman manifest a diamond from her mouth. I've seen another woman in German that was an Indian woman, a German woman also, a spoon in her hand. She was 18 also, a big metal spoon, and she would go like this privately in our room. And she would do this and it would start to churn. And then she would go the other way and it would start flipping the other way. Right? So I've seen all these things. And at the same time, I can see why the miracle path would be my path, but I also can see it being something that I eventually have to transcend that too, because anything, even the miracle, is still an experience within like even the need for a miracle needs to be transcended. You get what I'm
Mm.
saying? Because
Yep.
a miracle is just a correction of a misperception in vision,
Mm.
right? To believe that I could be sick or the believe that someone else can be this or that. That's the miracle is just correcting that misperception. It was like Christ consciousness, the way he saw the world, the way he saw vision, and people would heal spontaneously around him, right? Because he's like, well, you can't be blind, you're perfect, you know?
Mm.
And so then the person would spontaneously, because he saw the Christ consciousness in the other, it gave permission to that person. So I'm starting to see how these you're catching me at an interesting time because I'm starting to see how these miracles will unfold, but I'm
Mm.
trying as hard as I can to stay detached from them.
Yeah, because when before we came on the show, you were talking about identity, how you're having this real shift in identity and really letting go of the illusion of the body and the self. And I'm really, I mean, I've been practicing that. I find it really hard. I'm going to be really straight with you. Like I do a lot of reading, a lot of meditation. The whole thing of that this is not real. This is not a physical. My
Yeah.
physical body is just an illusion. But at the same time, there's certain things that happen in your body, and then you get caught up, like without thinking about it, you just get caught up.
Sure.
Oh, this, and then you start, taking that attention into your body, and then like start analyzing. Okay, what could this be? Until you go, hang on a minute, I'm not this
Yeah.
body. So you have this constant. I don't know if you don't, but I'm constantly going in and out.
I was, and now I'm very stabilized in the I am, but then that needs
Mm.
to be transcended too because you're prior to the I am. But yeah, but you're right, and a lot of people within seconds, that's all it takes. You're right back in it because you see a headline or you get a call or something happens. I'll even have people be like, "I'm not the body, I'm not the mind. I get that, I understand that," and then they'll go, "But Frank, what happens when I die?" So already you're right back in it because if you're
Yeah.
not the body, you're not the mind, who dies? You were
Hmm.
never born. So how could you die? I tell my astrologer even, I say, you're reading a birth chart. I was not born. So you're not reading my chart. You're reading the birth chart of the person I was witness to his birth, you know?
Mm.
And so he's an eighth generation Indian, very serious astrologer. And I'm always like, you're not reading my chart. I don't have a birth chart. I was not born. And then he'll, because he tells me, he's like in the year, I think it's 2042, he says, in 2035, you're going to go live in an ashram or by yourself in isolation. And in 2042, you self-realize it's in your chart. But he said, he's like, you come to me, you're asking me questions, but one day I will be asking you questions. One day I will be at your feet asking you questions because you know everything. You just haven't realized it yet.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm into astrology. I've been doing astrology since my 20s, and it's only happened a couple of years ago that I stopped looking at my chart because I started going, this is the template I've come to experience, so to expand, but to move away from it. And so I started looking at what does that look like if I moved away from this blueprint and actually evolved and expanded. And it was really interesting. Things started changing for me because I kept looking at my chart and it's almost like the chart was unfolding itself and it was starting to tell me different stories. But then I was seeing things and I was reading into it but the moment I let go of it and said, this is a map that I no longer choose to live with or on, I can't tell you the things that have happened in the last 2 years just from doing that.
Wow. See, and I love that you're saying that because you're so advanced because a lot of people are looking for answers in their chart. They're looking for hope, right? Even my astrologer, he makes YouTube videos and he was like, I have to keep it positive because if I say anything negative, I'll lose 100 subscribers from that video. If I say all positive, I'll gain 500 from that video? And so he's like, people are looking for hope. They're coming to astrology looking, and so I don't give them the negative because they want to know the hope. And it's really interesting because I'm like you, where I see it as a blueprint, and I can see why. Like he would even say it would be in your chart that you would even transcend your chart, because
Yeah, yeah.
he's so fixed on like this is your chart no matter what. So I say, well, what if I become self-realized, like you said, and then I decide I change my mind, I want to get married and I want to whatever. And he's like, well, then that would have been in your chart too, that you would self-realize and man, and. But I like what you're saying because it is a blueprint. And I said this on a podcast before where everything is predestined except you get to choose one thing, and that is when will you wake up? When will you
Yes.
transcend all of that? Your birth chart, your illusion, all that, that's your choice. You have free will there. You can say, I'm done. It's like I see it as a game of tag in my head of like, okay, Catherine, you're it. You're gonna betray me in this life, and then I'm gonna come back in the next life, and we're gonna do this, and then we'll be married, and then we'll get into a fight, and then this person's gonna come on and like, but it's like at any moment you can just be like, hey, everybody, I'm actually not playing this game anymore. I'm done. I'm gonna just return to self and abide in that, which is really what you are and what I am and what all of us are is just self. It's not your consciousness and my consciousness and that. It's just consciousness. There's consciousness happening. And you can at any moment transcend and go beyond the consciousness because at the end of the day, you are actually prior. So consciousness is the totality of everything. It's God. It's I am. I exist. The I am principle. But where did that I am arise from? It arose within you, the empty space, the nothingness. And that's what you really are. So even to go into the I am, that's the space where miracles happen. That's where doors open. That's where people spontaneously are healing around you. But you're even prior to that. You came before the I am. The I am consciousness arose in you. In other words, God, the totality of everything is in you. You're not in God. You're not in a body. The body is in you.
And you know that you keep saying that the actual little green book that I spoke about is the I am book, and it's all about the I am knowing, and it's all about the stepping aside and let the I am lead the way while you step aside. And I love the
Yeah.
way that you were talking about the whole consciousness thing because the thing is also I think it's like because we've been conditioned to hang on to something, right? Because it's hard to look at, like I always say, it's hard to look at your bank account and say, oh geez, I've only got $300 but that's the effect of the cause, is what you created. But to look beyond that, because this is only an illusion, to actually look beyond that, to actually manifest and go, well, if I can create that, I can create more. And to actually shift that level of consciousness and move away from what is Newtonian, what we can touch and feel, takes practice. Takes
It takes practice.
practice.
And then I always go even beyond that, right? It's like creation. It's like, who is it that wants to create wealth and abundance? The one that is already everything. All the abundance is yours. Everything is yours. But people are like, yeah, but I want it in my account. And like, I want, right? But that's the thing to transcend. Even Saint Germain, who's abiding in the I am consciousness and can live 600, 700, 800 years, you still need to transcend that state of like, who is it that's grasping onto an identity that becomes immortal? Because there are yogis in the Himalayas who are hundreds of years old. There are people who are manifesting diamonds from their mouth. My guru told me from the very beginning, and my astrologer and everybody, that that will become a distraction for you. Don't go to India because you will do miracles, you will attain powers, and it's going to become a trap. Because what happens is the ego. See, Catherine, like I always tell people, I'm not spiritual. I am not spiritual. I'm in the spiritual world. But I'm not a spiritual person because that is an identity. And so what the ego does when it sees that, like, oh my God, Catherine's becoming really spiritual. She's getting so close. The identity goes, I mean, the ego is so brilliant. Its last effort is, okay, let me give her a spiritual identity and concept. And now it's like, okay, it is more pleasant because it's a very lofty identity, but it's still an identity. All we did was change one identity for another. I
Yeah.
was this person and now I'm a spiritual person. It's Ram Dass, right? I was a Harvard professor and now I'm a spiritual yogi, but that's still an identity
Yep.
that now I'm a yogi. Transcend that. So, like my guru was like, sadhana or a practice is for the seeker, but kill the seeker. Who is the one seeking? Annihilate the seeker. And it was really interesting because when you find your guru, which is really just consciousness, it's just when you worship the I am, when you worship that consciousness, that I am principle, you're worshiping yourself in the highest form. And then that self, when you're ready, appears as a guru in physical form for you, not for them. They don't need to be in a physical form. In fact, they're not in a physical form, but they appear in as a physical form for us, as Neem Karoli Baba for Ram Dass or the Maharaj or Sai Baba or whoever. But that's because that's how we're ready to receive the guidance from our own consciousness. So it appears, right? But even all of that becomes a distraction to have a practice, to have anything. And so for me, the guru said, you are not the body, you are not the mind, find out who you are. And right, like you, I've heard this so many times, but for some reason he said it and I believed him. And I was unable to shake it when I heard him say it. There was something in the conviction from which he spoke that all of a sudden it was like, I am not the body. I am not the, it was an earthquake, right? Because you can understand it as a concept, and that's one thing. And then when you understand it as an experience, as I had in my room, I had like this experience about maybe 8 months ago that was way beyond any ayahuasca, anything I had ever done in my life. And full on fractals and visuals by myself in my room. And since then, I see this purple hueish, like bluish hue around everything. And it comes and goes, and it appears and it comes and goes. But it was ever since that one moment of just dissolving fully, no body experience. And now ever since then, I'm just always abiding in that state. But I still know that it's because I'm in a state still, even if it's blissful, it's still a state. So it still needs to be transcended as well.
So, because I know that you also work with a lot of like high performers and business people, and I think a lot of the times they're really, well, I see a lot of them burn out because they're so attached to an identity. And so, how does one release that attachment of the identity to get to that point where you're saying where to basically allow yourself to be your authentic, genuine I am self without attachment to any external, because I know it's even for me, I'm in business, and for
Yeah.
me to not even think about to plan ahead or anything like that. It's not, I don't sit there and go, oh, I've just got to expand, because that's what I've come here to do, is expand and experience and just expand my vessel so that more like, I can't be like that all the time and have a team and grow my business. And this is where I get that going in and out all the time. And I know you work with a lot of people that, around business development and identity. I'm just really curious as how does one move into your space?
Yeah, let me give you an example of my own, even though you're right. Like I work with first ladies of countries. I work with people who are they have a lot of demanding schedules, senators, celebrities, and everyday people as well. Like even a mom might be just as much, if not more, overwhelmed as someone like, a pop star. But the thing is that it's an interesting thing. Well, first, the technique. The first thing is just to always question the mind, question it, and not even just question it, watch it. Just watch it like a thief, because you're thinking, I have to plan. But planning is actually an attack against consciousness. It's an attack against God. And it's not as useful for your business, by the way. Like you think it is, but it's not. And so, like I'll give you a perfect example. Someone today on this this interview that I did on the other podcast said, yeah, like I understand, you choose, she said, you don't have a choice, but you do. Like, for example, I can choose ice cream over wheat, like when I go open the fridge, right? And I told her, it's consciousness that's choosing the ice cream. Your mind tricks you into making you think that you're the one choosing it, but it's all done. And I said to her, I'll just read it. I wrote, from the standpoint of the absolute, there is no individual doer. The sense that I choose the ice cream arose in the body mind. Before that, what were you? Or what are you? The idea of free will and the idea of no free will both belong to the person. The self is prior to both. And so it's all, and here's it like a perfect example because it's my own. I have a book coming out this Thursday. It's a novel. And it's a novel that's it's being distributed by Macmillan, one of the biggest publishers in the world. I had zero planning involved with that, zero anything. I wrote the book in 2018, sat on it. After having that experience of the woof with the fractals in my room, the whole thing, the next day I was sitting there literally on my couch, just staring at the wall for hours. And I was like, what do I do now? And I asked Spirit as being claircognizant, I said, what do I do? And Spirit said, you do nothing. Do nothing. Everything is being done. Just do nothing. And that seems like do nothing, sit on the couch and stare at the wall. But no, I'm doing so much. I have this book coming out while I'm finishing my third book. The next day, I got a publisher called and said, we want to publish this book that you wrote in 2018. I had no agent. I wasn't pitching it. I didn't have to come up with a proposal, like nothing. And so it was Spirit showing me that you're not actually the doer. You think you are. The mind is just getting in the way. That doesn't mean things don't get done. My own guru, who was fully self-realized, like there is no comparison. He was the ultimate, owned and ran a tobacco shop in Mumbai, right? And so he's lit, and he even said, the ignorant person and the realized person from the outside look exactly the same. And actually, when I had a private meeting with Sadhguru 5 years ago, he said the same thing to me. He said, you don't actually see me. You see the projection of me that you have on me. But if you saw me, you'd be in tears right now. If you knew what it was that who you were speaking to and how and like what I actually am and what you are, right? And this guru said the same thing where he's like, my own neighbors don't come to me. They don't know, they don't recognize, but people, Americans, Australians, French from all over the world come to me to ask me questions and hear me speak and to be realized, but my own neighbors don't come, And so it's like the person can be right in front of you and you don't know that this is a realized person. It could be the person at the farmer's market or whatever else. But all that to say is like he was very busy. He ran a tobacco shop in Mumbai, right? And it's like it's not that you're not doing, it's that you're detached from the doer. You're just watching the doing happening. It's going to happen. Your business is going to run. And in fact, it's going to run even better when you get out of the way. Now everything is just intuitive and it brings the right people, the right team. I have a community online and now this week we're making it a little more accessible because it is a high ticket item and we're making it a smaller version of it for on school, like the school platform, and it's $29 a month, and it's a full like 9 module program helping healers do what I did, leave your full-time corporate whatever job and have a full-time healing business, whether you're an astrologer, a holistic life coach, whatever. And it's been really incredible to watch these people build their brands and their businesses, and they're skyrocketing, and it's all from the right, being in the right community, the right people, and all of that happens spontaneously. I tell everybody when they first join, you don't actually know why you're joining this program. You think you do, but consciousness led you here for something you have no idea what you'll get out of it. And they're always like, yeah, yeah, whatever, because they come in thinking they know, like, I'm here to build my business or here to develop my intuition or be in a community. And like 80% of them will message me or say on the forums, I cannot believe that I've gotten so much more from this than I thought I would. And I thought I came here for this, but I actually received this. And I say that to say, I didn't plan school. I didn't plan my community. It all just happened. And the right people. And even my program director, I said, hey, even though we've made a lot of money, like close to six figures in the last 5 months that we've launched this, I haven't seen any of it, and neither has he, because it all goes right back into the program. We're building this thing, we're developing it. So I'm working for free. But I want him to make money. And I told him, I was like, I'm sorry, like hopefully soon it'll get to a level where we're not having to put all of it back in and you can make some money out of this. And he's like, Frank, I'm just honored that I get to spread your teachings and your work and that we're impacting so many people. That's all I want. The fact that I found a business partner like that or a program director is not me. There was something in consciousness that led him to go do this dharma and for me to do this dharma, and we get to just watch it unfold and know that we're being taken care of. And we're not doing anything. That's the thing. And all these podcast requests and whatever else, it's all happening spontaneously. So it's not that I'm saying don't do it. I'm saying detach from the sense that I am the one doing or that the mind
Mm.
is doing, fixing something.
But there's got to be some sort of alignment that needs to take place, though. It's like, I mean, because I mean, I think also I always talk about, sometimes we've got to listen to the resistance, or the calling, or when you get pulled towards something. But there's got to be an alignment for you to allow yourself to experience that. Because
Yeah.
I mean, like you were saying, it's not like, and I mean, I love the whole become the observer, not be in it and actually doing it, but watch yourself doing it, because there's something bigger than you involved in this. It's not just you, Frank, or you, Catherine. It is actually the consciousness had already planned and already knew before you even knew, before you even thought about it, before
Yeah.
you even processed it. But there's got to be some sort of alignment for it to take place.
Yeah. And I think the alignment does come from, look, some people will say it's meditation or this or that. I dropped all practices when I met my guru. So I was doing a 2 hour Kriya yoga every day, everything, and I stopped. And, you know, same with you. Continue life. Have your household, have your business, do everything. Just remember the word of the guru. That's enough. And I know it doesn't seem like enough, but if you think of even like the Bhagavad Gita, the original text of Hinduism, right? The foundation that every spiritual person goes and reads the Bhagavad Gita. The main character is Arjuna, and Arjuna becomes liberated on the battlefield. So it's showing you that even because people always go, yeah, Frank, but it's easy to do that at a Tony Robbins retreat, but we're in the world and there's war and there's this and there's that. Arjuna was in the middle of the battlefield when he realized, and he did it. Did he meditate? No. Did he do a Kriya yoga practice? No. He just received the word from Lord Krishna, from God directly saying, you are not the body, you're not the mind. Don't worry about what's happening on the battlefield. You are the one killing, you're the one being killed, you're the one in which all of this is taking place. It's all me, Lord Krishna. So don't worry, live your dharma, do whatever, continue life. Just always know it's not you. You're sleeping peacefully in your bed right now, watching the dream of Arjuna, right? And so that's all I say. Continue, do everything you're doing. Don't even have a practice. Be ignorant. Live life, but just always know I am not this. I am not that. Everything you can see, I'm not this, I'm not that. I'm prior to this. Whatever experience you're having, I'm prior to this experience. And people will only sometimes use that for bad things, but use it for good things too. Because even love, the most beautiful experience, has in it the seed of grief, right? Eventually, if I love you, I'm going to lose you, whether that's through death, separation, my death. There's grief is already sown into love. So we live in a dual world, right? Well, we don't, but we
We
think we
don't,
do.
yeah.
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 We're witnessing duality in
Yes.
everywhere we look, and that can pull you right out of the sense of I am, right? Because there's
Mm.
duality. But you're prior to duality. And that's all I'm saying. It's like, the women in those towns that carry the basket on their head and
Yes.
they're not using their hands. it's the same thing where continue your work, right? You go, you get the water. I might stop and see Catherine while we're both getting the water and we'll have a conversation, but our attention the entire time is up here on the basket because we have to keep it still, right? So you might be talking, you might be doing, but your attention is always here. It appears like I'm speaking to you and I'm getting water, but really my attention always is here.
Wow.
So just live life that way, like the basket's on your head and you're witnessing it.
I love that. I love that because I'm a visual person. So just the fact that you said that, it's going to help me really stay aligned. So this is how you stay aligned?
Yeah, I can't break it. I can't not be aligned right now. It's like I'm at the gym, I'm talking to you, I'm cooking, and the entire time I'm just abiding in the who I am. Who am I? Who is the one cooking? Who's having this experience? Where did this experience come from? And it's not mental chatter anymore. It's not like I'm questioning the way I was in the beginning. It's more just that it's just there, that awareness of this is not me. This is not me. This is not me. This is not me. And it's so interesting because I'll get even requests from like a massive online streaming platform for spirituality, you would know it, reached out and was like, we'd love for you to interview these three people. And all of them had massive followings. Like in season one of my podcast, I would have been like, yes, please, definitely, you know? And anybody else, anybody with a podcast like mine or yours would be like, oh my God, this is incredible. And I politely passed on all three. I'm at the point now where I don't resonate with false teachings anymore. I can't resonate with somebody who's teaching ignorance as truth. And they believe it. I don't think that they're malicious, but they really believe in whatever they're teaching. But it's all about past lives. It's all about this and about how to change something, how to make it more pleasant. All of these people are teaching ignorance because they still identify with the body. And so they're teaching body identification, you know? And so it's really gotten to a point where I say that to say is like, fulfillment comes from within now. It doesn't come from like the need to have this person on the podcast or that. You just, when you abide in that place, you just trust, you know, you just only do what's aligned, not because it's a mental decision, but because you just can't do something anymore that's not aligned. It doesn't, there's no even, I can't even comprehend doing it.
There must be, so for you not to be aligned, there must be some form of resistance that you feel that this is not for me to go forward, or this is not for me to get involved in.
Yeah, and it's like I can still have appreciation for that person because it's still consciousness acting through them and everybody's fulfilling a role. And who knows if this person might say something or have a certain guest on or whatever that then leads the person watching to a deeper truth. So it's all good and it's all serving a purpose. It's just, yeah, if it's not in alignment, I just know. And it's not good or bad or whatever. It's just alignment or not alignment, you know? And it's interesting because there's nothing I can even say that's not in form of concepts because everything it has to be spoken in a concept. And that's why it's even hard because everything that I'm trying to express is beyond a concept. The concept of consciousness, the concept of this. It's really so simple that it gets missed, which is just be. It's already there. It's not like get to that level of consciousness. It's that you are that consciousness. Now just realize it and get out of its way.
Yeah,
Surrender
because
fully.
yeah, even just the thought of having to reach that level of consciousness, you're
Yeah.
creating you're creating a barrier or restriction anyway. Just thinking, but by allowing yourself and knowing that you are consciousness, you're not getting in your own way. It's really strange, though. I have to be honest. Since I've been here, I've had a couple of breakthroughs, massive breakthroughs, awakenings, but it took me to almost like get to a point of the dark night of the soul for me to make a realization like, I can't believe it's taken me this long to see it. But it's
Yeah.
almost like, and it's not even like going into the shadow work or, into the dark side work, but it just this, there was a point where I just fell to the ground, fell to my knees and went, just show me what is it that I'm doing that is manifesting and creating these repeating events in my life. But it was me. It
Yeah.
was me. It was so clear that it was me creating it, manifesting, and then understanding it, even going deeper why I was doing it. But the
Mm.
way that you speak about it's like I don't even need to go through that.
You don't need to, because what you're describing is the left hand of God, they would say. So the left hand is the dark path. going through, it's like the Agori yogis. They cover themselves in ash. They meditate on in cremation sites. They meditate on death, on seeing the beauty even in feces, like in death, in vulgar things. Like that's the left path of God. So it's like going through the darkness to get to the light. Then there's the right path, which is like Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, right? It's like love, forgiveness, beingness, doing nothing, sainthood. And then there's the direct path. The direct path is the one I'm describing. It's the path of I am. It's the path of self-inquiry. It's like I'm not going to go through the darkness or the light. I'm going to find out who I am. From where did all this arise? And sometimes it is actually like Eckhart Tolle, like you, where you have to go through the dark night. And the reason why I think is the same reason why Kriya Yoga works or any type of a discipline works. It's it's no none of that will ever lead to realization. But what it does is it breaks you down so much that you're like, okay, fine, like you surrender, right? Like you've done
Mm-hmm.
the Kriya Yoga, you're holding these postures for 10 minutes a day for 20 years. Eventually you're just like, okay. Like I surrender, I give up. Like you're giving up that hold of control that we have as a person, as identifying as a person. And when you let go of that, like it's like you said, the last 2 years for you, like magic just starts to happen. You start to see things unfold where you're just like, okay, I'm gonna step back and just like let consciousness do. Not only let it, you can't let it or not let it. It's doing everything anyway. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But just
Yeah.
like watch it happen and stop letting the mind interfere. And that's why when you just watch the mind, you start to watch how actually insane it is.
Yeah,
It's
you just
insane.
reminded me of something. Master Chow Kok Sui, he's no longer alive. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he talked about life is like walking through a tightrope, and you're holding one blackbird and one white bird. And so this is what you're saying. Never lean because if you lean towards a blackbird, which is the dark side where you're talking about, you fall off your tightrope. And then same with the white bird. The only way through life is a straight line, and it's what you're talking about. The I am
Yeah.
and that the curiosity that drives that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's it. Just stick with that curiosity and then ask like who is it that's curious? And it kills the seeker because like you said, when you're sitting there in meditation, you're still trying to seek or attain or be or get to a level or be something, right? Like everybody wants that the powers or the abilities or the enlightenment. But that you're still by doing the practice so seriously and regimented, you're also enforcing the seeker, that there is a seeker, that there's someone seeking, but it's just consciousness. And when consciousness knows itself, it's liberated. So
Mm,
just turn your attention back constantly, constantly. Because it's so easy for people to be like, yeah, but there's war, but there's this, but turn it back to
yeah.
yourself, And like the guru would say, when, because they would say, well, what about war? And what about, he'd say, when you realize yourself, the question goes with it. Like your question won't even be there. So he would always go back to just realize, because when you realize, the question disappears too.
Yeah, wow, that's so powerful. Yeah, that it's for me. I'm just having epiphanies. I'm having moments right now as you're talking through this, because it is so amazing. It's like I work with a couple of entrepreneurs, and it's funny how we talk about they have to there's a target, there's KPIs, they have to do this. It's like, well, what you're doing is you're projecting you don't already have it, so you're going to get
Yeah.
stuck in that loop of. But if you imagine if you lived as if it already had taken place, right? That you're not seeking it, you're not looking for it, but then being aligned with it, that is a very different thing than looking for it and seeking it, because you're then projecting the lack of the very thing that you already have naturally, which is
Yes,
kind
yeah.
of like what you're speaking about.
Yeah, and even in that moment, because I'm really like not into manifestation because I see everything as predestined, but I would say like in that moment you could also turn to that consciousness within, like I said, the guru, and just say in your mind, guru, guru, and worship the guru, and then things will just happen. Things will align. There's so many times where there's something that needs like a fire that needs to be put out, and I'll just sit with it for like 3 or 4 days and do nothing, and then I'll just watch how it just resolves itself. And it's like, wow, I really just needed to step back and not do anything, or not force anything. Everything changes when you just worship this guru, this consciousness energy that is you. What I'm saying is worship yourself,
Mm. Do you ever
the
get
real
triggered?
you. I can't imagine, but if I do, Like I can't remember, but as a kid, I mean, as a teen, as everything I did. But no, now I really don't. But even then, no, like even if I'm missing a flight, if anything has happened, I'm just like, oh, I guess I wonder what I'm gonna do now. Like it's just very nonchalant. I'm very like I don't want to say passive though, because you can still see I'm very much in control when I'm out doing things. But it's more if there is that, like there are realized people, realized gurus who have had temper tantrums. And the entire time, though, this is what I mean by the doer, right? They're not the doer. They're just watching consciousness have a little tantrum or the ego or the body. It's not even the ego at that point because they don't have one. They're just watching it happen, just like they would be watching brushing the teeth happen, right? But they're so detached from like the jnani is like the realized one is so detached from what is actually happening, even from what it's seems like it's doing.
Mm. Yeah.
It goes so far beyond because it doesn't go beyond it's so there is no like good or bad. Like that's the whole thing again. It's like we want to constantly go back to duality of like the saint does this and this person does that. Like this person doesn't do this, but there is no good or bad. This person sometimes does this person sometimes does that. They're not the person. And even like now, you and I are speaking, and it's not, there is no you and I speaking, but that's how it will be perceived. It's consciousness is meeting consciousness. And
Mm.
every single time you meet anybody, it's your chance for salvation and it's their chance for salvation. You can like A Course in Miracles, one of my favorite teachings would say that you say to the person in your mind, give me your blessing, holy child of God. Give me your blessing. It's like seeing everybody as your savior because everybody, if you see them as they are pure consciousness. They're not the actions that we attribute or project onto them or whatever happened in the past. Like forgiveness is such a big thing. For me, it was the biggest lesson in my life where there was two friends that I was really close with and we stopped being friends after, 17-year friendship or whatever it was. And for me, in the beginning, it was like I had a lot of grace and I fooled myself. This is like 5 years ago into thinking that it was forgiveness, but it was grace. It was like, you did this to me, but I'm willing to not, to forgive. I'm willing to forget about that and everybody can heal. It gets to the point when you go deeper and deeper. It took me like 3 years to where I got to the point where I was like, there's nothing to forgive. You didn't do anything. Nothing ever happened. This is a dream. You're consciousness. I'm consciousness. I love you. You love me. It's all good in reality. And then it
Mm.
got to the point where it's like, I don't wish you well, actually, but I also don't wish you unwell. I wish you nothing. I wish consciousness does what consciousness does, and I'm just going to watch it do what it does. But I'm not wishing you well or unwell. You know what I mean? I'm
Absolutely.
completely just detached from what happens to you or to me.
It
And I'll
makes
just
sense.
love you through that.
I'm so
Hmm,
sorry.
sorry.
It makes sense because I had an experience a few years ago too with the whole forgiveness. And the thing is, I was practicing forgiveness, but what it was doing, I was bringing back the past into the present and reliving some of the emotions. And so I wasn't ever really forgiving. I was kept caught in a loop. And when I then just went, I'm just allowing whatever took place without judgment, it changed. But
Yeah,
the
yeah.
actual forgiveness process got me stuck.
See, it's exactly the process that gets you stuck. But the same, you can apply that now into like self-realization, into self-inquiry. Don't get too involved in the process. I know people want me to give like a tool or
Mm.
a practice, but it's like the only practice is kill the practice. Just keep going back to who is it that's practicing? Who wants a practice? Keep going back to self, to self. And when we talk about forgiveness, we don't, it wasn't that Jesus was nailed to the cross that makes everybody to this day teach his teachings. It's the fact that even being nailed to the cross, he said, it is not this I would look upon. I trust my brothers who are one with me, who are acting out of delusion, who believe that killing me makes them safe. And that's why he said to what did he say? Like, forgive them, they know not what they do, right? It was that's the thing to be worshipped is the fact that even being nailed to the cross. So whatever that person did to you, you can still say, it is not this I would look upon. I trust
Mm.
consciousness. It is not this. They know not what they do. It's fine. I can, it doesn't mean you go now and be in that abusive relationship or stay in it or whatever. But now you can recognize it and go, I see what this is. I'm taking myself out of this, but not with resentment or grace or anything like that. Just more like, oh, this is not an alignment anymore. let consciousness handle it. Everything, let consciousness take care of it. Or if God is your word, let God take care of it. And that's really the I am, right?
Mm,
Consciousness, the totality of everything. In this reality, let consciousness take care of everything because even consciousness will then take you beyond consciousness, back to nothingness, beyond even consciousness.
mm. That's amazing, amazing. I'm so going to send you that book. The way that you are
Please send it to
speaking,
me. And I'm wearing green.
I'm just going to send to you. I'm like, it's like you've written the book. I swear, it's
Wow.
yeah, it's
Wow.
your, and that's yeah. So we can talk about it because I'm conscious of your time too, but it is Saint Germain. So for those that
Yeah.
now probably were eager to find out right at the start of the show, there is the I Am book. It is a green book, I Am, and there's two pictures in there, and you look like I'm going to show you the picture. I'm going to send you the book. Actually, I think the book was meant for you, but I feel like you've written a book. Consciously, you've written a book.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say consciously I did, right? Because
yeah, you did.
consciousness wrote it and consciousness will express through many forms. So it might come out in the book, and then 1,000 years later, it might want to come out through Catherine or through Firas or Frank or whatever character. But it's
Mm,
all consciousness, all of
yeah,
it.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing,
Beautiful.
amazing. Well, I am really conscious of your time talking about consciousness and the way that we wrap up the show. And it's going to be strange because it's like
I'm like,
we
no
leave with
process.
three shiny golden nuggets. They're like three how tos, but they don't have to. They can be like three. I don't know, three tips, three whatever you want to do.
Okay. Okay. So let's start with the first one because we kind of just spoke about it, which is like try to practice throughout today. Anytime you feel wronged or someone did something or canceled a plan or whatever it is, it is not this I would look upon. This is from A Course in Miracles. It is not this I would look upon. They write in very masculine terms. So they would say, I trust my brother who is one with me, but you could say my sister, or I trust this one who is one with me, whatever. But just try to carry that affirmation today. It is not this I would look upon. I trust my brothers who are one with me. So that's one, right? So for forgiveness, letting it go. The second, I would say, there's a really beautiful practice. I do this in my school community that I was mentioning, and people will start crying throughout it. I'll try to show you, but basically, left hand will always be palm up in your lap, and then the right hand will move, and you'll just go to your heart. My heart, I love you. My eyes, I love you. My head, I love you. I love you. I love you. And then back up again. So my heart, I love you. My eyes, I love you. My head, I love you. I love you. I love you. This will be a really beautiful. See, the thing is, like, even though you're not the body, you're not the heart, you're not the mind, all the things we're pointing to, but consciousness is self-love. That's what it is. That's why we're even here, is because we have such love for the self, for the experience. We love being, right? And so worship that beingness. It'll eventually take you further, but worship that love for being, that I love my heart, I love you, my eyes, I love you, my head, I love you, I love you, I love you. So those are two. And then the third is really just all day, morning, night, everything I am, I am. Even if it's just, if you can only do a little bit in the morning and night before you go to bed. It's interesting because the dreams are not real even, right, as you go to bed, but you can always use anything in this world, another person, a dream, as a tool for spirit to teach you and to guide you. So before bed, you could just say, I intend to know who I am. I intend to know what I am. Who was I before birth? Meditate on death, like as you're falling asleep. What would this be like if I was actually not falling asleep right now, but I'm dying? Meditate on that, because eventually, little by little, you go beyond it and you start to realize I'm actually the witness of the body dying. I'm the witness of the body going to sleep. So what was I before that then? What were you 100 years ago? What will you be 100 years from now? Find that. And then fear, little by little, starts to go away. I was when I was at the Monroe Institute last year, and I'm going again in March this year, and I had an opportunity to spend a lot of time with Joe McMoneagle, who was Agent 001 for Project Stargate. He was a remote viewer for the CIA. Really incredible, incredible stories of things that he had done. And my friend Emilio, I don't know if you know Emilio, he has a podcast as well. I'm blanking
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know
Yeah,
Emilio.
yeah,
Yeah,
Emilio Ortiz, yeah,
yeah.
and he was there with me, and we were both sitting on the couch with Joe, and Emilio said, "What is the one thing you wish people would know?" And he said, "Just I wish I knew how to get people to stop being so afraid, just to let go of fear, because remote viewing, all of these things happen. The first thing is to just let go of the fear of your body having that experience, of you having that experience." And this meditation on death, meditation on right before sleep, on who am I, it helps really with transcending that fear because little by little you're stopping identifying with the one that's experiencing the lack, the limitations, everything else, and you start to resonate with the one that was prior to that.
Mm. You're
Yeah.
amazing. You're honestly you're so amazing, and you look so young. When you said you were 38,
30, I'm turning 38 in 2 months.
you
Yeah.
look like you're like 18. You
I
look
always love,
so
look,
young.
I'm always so grateful to people saying that. So thank you.
But it reminds me of Amma. I don't know if you know Amma, or they call her Mama Amachi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the hugging saint.
Yeah, the hugging.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
she's.
yeah.
I mean, she's the same. She looks. I mean, I don't know how old she is now, but she's. I used to go and see her every year in Australia when she used to go
Wow.
in Australia. And I remember when I got I think it's got a Dashna, isn't it? When they did the
Oh,
hugging,
yeah,
I
yeah.
fell to the ground. I felt like I was
Okay,
touched by
okay.
God. It was
Wow, really?
unbelievable. Yeah, I couldn't even walk. I was like it was just amazing.
Yeah,
Couldn't
some
sleep for
people really
days.
have incredible transmission. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but you're
Wow. I used to
amazing.
always want to go to her. So thank you. When I was little, when I was like not little, but in college, I remember really wanting to go see her and I never did.
She's just she's amazing, amazing. And I used to take my son. My son was only like 2 years old. He went and saw Dalai Lama, like always just
Wow.
sat there the whole time. Never, yeah, amazing human being. But anyway,
That's pretty cool that he chose you or he got you. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So Frank, I want to say thank you so much. You're amazing. Absolutely. I could talk to you for hours, and I am going to go and get that book. But I want to say thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel like we're friends already.
I
And it's like
know.
always like that with the Australians. I don't know what is it about you guys. I become friends with Australians like instantly.
Oh, do you? Oh, have
Yeah.
you been to Australia?
I've never been.
Oh, you've got to come.
I've never been. I just feel like it's one of those things where it's so far that it's something where I'm like, okay, I need to take a month and just really experience like Byron Bay and Melbourne and just all
Yeah.
the different places, you know?
And your accent. But you got to come to here, south of France. There's a Mary Magdalene Trail here that's meant to be amazing.
Where is that?
Mary Magdalene Trail in France, here, just down here.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll go. I'll do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I'm in
There's
France all
lots
the
of
time.
things. Just for what you're into, I think you'd really
Yeah.
enjoy it anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'm really into the Gnostic texts, or I was into the Gnostic teachings, and Mary's a huge part of that as well. Well,
Mm.
more Mary, the disciple, but yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so, so much. Thank
Thank
you.
you.